So you was speaking about the different things that you learned when you was younger. Over the time that if you knew you was younger, you can skip some steps or avoid some things.
Yeah, so that was the one thing. Like, did you get all the stuff from like the saying no thing?
Yeah.
We got all that. Yeah. So that's a big one. Was obviously saying no, and then the other strategy that one of the things that helped me as well is like it can get overwhelming, right? Where you're like you're at the starting spot, and then you're trying to think of where you want to go, like what you want to do, and it's hard to like move down that pathway and figure out like how am I going to get to that spot. So one of the things that started helping me was, if I was at the starting spot and say I got like, okay, this is the next step, this is the next step, this is the next step, but then I don't know what to do. I started thinking about like,
Yeah. I lay on the scale, you gotta glow, you gotta glow. She had my attention, she gotta know.
I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of the Let's Gather podcast. I'm your host Zeke. In this episode, I have Sean Frost to speak about the different lessons he learned while building different businesses. You can find more information about him by clicking the link in the description below. I'd like to give a contact warning for Sean that we use in this episode. And have a nice day and enjoy the show.
I'd like to first welcome you to the Let's Gather podcast. Thank you for being a guest and allow you the floor to introduce yourself to the audience.
hey, right on. Thanks for having me. It's Sean McCrae, aka Sean Frost. I'm up here in Ottawa, Canada, and happy to chop it up.
Nice. So I guess the first question is, what brought you to the podcast and what kind of you do in your day to day?
Yeah, so to get to the podcast, full transparency, I have a team. One of the missions for my media team is reaching out to people that are trying to do it. Putting effort in, passionate about something. Kind of like-minded stuff. So they're reaching out to people that are just running podcasts, and then I kind of vet it, and if it's a fit, it's a fit, and then I jump on. Usually. Share a bit of my story and maybe a bit of insight as to what I've had to go through and what's worked and hasn't worked, and it's blessed, and we kind of go from there. But yeah, to get to the podcast, it really just started from Ryan Serhant, an agent out in New York, real estate agent, my real estate mentor, and he started on do public speaking. Nah, not for me. And then start a podcast, and I don't do anything if I can't dedicate 150% to it. So I'm like I can't allot the amount of time and energy that it's going to need to get it off the ground and put a solid show together. So then he said, all right, next best thing is make yourself available to kind of spread yourself around and jump on other podcasts and see if you can enlighten people or offer any type of insight or advice. So here we are.
And I know you have like a lot of things you do in day to day and you have a long journey, so we could start there. So,
Yeah, with the journey.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So, so I'm from humble beginnings. Basically grew up, I used to, as an infant, like a baby, I was living in Florida. My parents, went their separate ways. My mom and I came up to Ottawa, Canada, where I was born, and, her family is from. So yeah, we moved in with my grandparents, grew up there for a while till my mom could kind of get her feet underneath her. Then we got our first apartment that we were renting, and it was always just the two of us. And it's a funny thing I touch on a lot of different episodes and speaking, but it's like it's a weird thing to say that like it was such a blessing to have my parents separate. So um, I was able to really get them one on one, right?
Mhm.
And like get to know them as a person, not just as like a co-parenting like team. So it was kind of cool because like my mom's like the type, like integrity is huge with her. She was a 9 to 5er, but she was really well respected, and like she always put in a lot of effort, and she's very caring. She's got a big heart. Whereas like my dad's a hustler through and through. So I was able to kind of get like a lot of good values from my mom, but then equally a lot of really good values from my dad, and kind of put them in that melting pot and like blend them together. So my dad was never afraid to like change jobs. Sometimes he didn't have a choice. But he was like he would switch jobs faster than like way faster than I could get a pair of new shoes, right? So um but just that go-getter mentality and like not just settling and striving for something better and bigger, even if he was trying to take a shortcut to get there. It instilled that mentality of like, things aren't necessarily going to be handed to you. You actually have to go out and get it. And, from him, I was just able to really understand that sometimes you gotta take the long road to get there, which is more my mom's approach, but then still have that ambition with which was my dad. So, we grew up. My mom and I, we lived in a lower income neighborhood. There was subsidized housing, subsidized daycare, but a real good community feel. We were kind of everybody in there. It was a melting pot. We were all in the same boat. So obviously for ethnicities and culture, like it was just a big mix of everybody, which was absolutely like, obviously incredible. It's so nice to be able to get to know people like where they're from and find out their values and like just get educated on different types of people. So like I've been very lucky to have that like my entire life. So I was in a minority in my high school, which again, like where I grew up, like it didn't matter because like we were all just like everybody just you got along with the people you got along with, not where they were from or whatnot. It was basically just everybody who they were, right? So I came up a hustler mentality as a kid, obviously like a lot of kids, I got into trouble and it wasn't I think the difference for me, like it wasn't necessarily I don't want to say for the wrong reasons, but like the reasons that I was kind of living that lifestyle was to try to get out of it and try to like better my situation rather than, you know, dating myself. But like we didn't have, it wasn't like social media and stuff that you were like going for clout and stuff like that. It was like we were grinding to change things, right? So I kind of adopted that mentality and like matured a little bit, started my first production company and started making music, composing, making beats, got some representation, I was selling beats while I was still in high school. Even in Europe and like kind of internationally in a stage where like, I don't know if you know this, Ezekiel, but like, I was still in like the MySpace age, so like I had a MySpace page and like I was hustling and slanging music. And then I was working with some artists out in Kansas City and actually going to university here in Ottawa. So I was going back and forth. And the studio kind of went belly up while I was up here finishing exams, and I decided to stay in Ottawa, quote unquote, grow up. I was early 20s at this point, and just felt like it was time to start making like some smarter choices, and just kind of evolve as a human. So that's kind of what I did, and that was the start of everything changing. I got a job at the Ottawa Hospital. I thought it was a good paper trail job. Never really had a good one of those before. So I was like, okay, like it's going to look good if I'm going, like if I could save some money and go for a mortgage, working at the hospital looks good. And like, obviously going to get whips or like get cars, get this, that, and the other. It's good backing. Like you either work at the government or you work for the audit for healthcare. It looks good on paper. So I thought that was a smart move. And I stayed there I was there for 13 years, but a good portion of that I was moonlighting on the side. So I started a general contracting company, and I absolutely hated it. So I teamed up with a good friend of mine, Vietnamese dude, English as a second language. He's my brother, and I was like, okay, let me work front of the shop. You work as the general contractor. We'll get business, we'll make some money, and we'll do our own thing. I just have that entrepreneurial spirit, right? And anyway, we opened the doors to this thing. We started getting jobs. Money was coming in. It was okay, but I absolutely hated it. Like it was like feeling like I was bending over backwards all the time for these clients. It was never good enough. It was thankless. And then, then I started like really stressing. I started all of a sudden this hospital job, like I knew for me it was a dead end job. Like I knew that it wasn't going to amount to anything. But then I started like, I really liked the actual job though. I was working with patients, like it was patient care. I was helping people. I felt good about it. And but now I'm starting to think about, okay, like I'm stuck in this dead end job. And then on the other side, I've started this company that I absolutely like, I despise it. Like anytime the work phone rings, like I could feel knots in my stomach. I'm going to bed anxious. I'm waking up, like hesitating and basically just like not wanting to take on the day. Like I was just apprehensive to like leave the house. And uh, I lost myself. Like I definitely just lost myself, but without knowing it at the time, right? And I was like in this vicious cycle of like working the hospital job and like liking the day-to-day hospital job, but knowing that I wasn't being fulfilled and I wasn't amounting to what my potential is. And then also doing this general contracting company that I hated. And then the guilt also came in where I was riding with like one of like my brother, like one of my best friends, and he needed this. Like it was his bread and butter. So I'm like, if I bail on the general contracting, like I'm leaving my boy out to dry. I can't do that. So then I felt guilty about having those feelings and like basically just spiraled into like a nice little depression there. Again, without knowing it, like I was in the eye of the storm. So I didn't know what was going on until I could actually reflect on it, like basically years later. So, yeah. And then to finally, like after 2 years, I kind of mustered enough. I just hit a breaking point. Like I hit a wall and, I had no choice. I was going to sink. So, I talked to him and I was like, bro, I need out of this. I hate it. And he's like, okay, how long have you been feeling like this? I'm like basically since we started it. And, then he's like, bro, you're an idiot, man. Like you should have just told me from day one. Like I would have been fine. I would have figured it out. Just like I'm going to figure it out now. I could have figured it out then. So, that was kind of the turning point. I closed the doors on that. Still worked at the Ottawa hospital, but then I was like, okay, like I'm stuck. I'm still feeling stuck. I don't know what to do. I don't really know what to do with my life, right? So then I've always been a firm believer in education, whether it's through institution or self-taught or experience. If you can invest some time and pick up any type of information from anything, you never know if that could help you out down the road, right? And so for the money and the time investment, again, if I could learn something that's going to help shape my life down the road, then it's an investment well made. And like, I'm also a firm believer that like, yeah, like stocks and everything, there's solid investments out there. But if you believe in yourself, there's no better investment than betting on yourself, because at the end of the day, then you have nobody else, like your fate's in your hands. You have nobody else to blame for it. You're not worrying about a stock market crashing. You're not worrying about incompetent boss that could potentially let you go or screw things up for you. Like you're taking your fate and taking matters into your own hands. And I think that's where I've excelled in life, is that I've always bet on myself. And so I tried a bunch of different things, and then I stumbled. A buddy of mine, and one of my best friends as well, said, "Bro, you're meant to be a real estate agent or a real estate broker. Do it. It's on. There's no cap. You can earn as much as you possibly can just based on your hustle." And I'm like, man. I was like, okay, let me dive in. So I started schooling for it here. It's 18 months to do it, but you can fast track. It's working on your own time. So like 6 months, I was done, and I hit the ground running. And then I within the first day, like I was like, okay, this is like kind of like legal hustling. Like you're flipping houses and it's legit. And again, like there's no boss. Like you're out there on your own, you're doing your own thing, which was absolutely amazing. And then I was able to change my perception and get my mind right around the hospital job, because I still work there. And I turned that dead end job into a farming resource where I was like, okay, like I'm now a real estate agent building up my business, and I'm working with lawyers, or not so much, sorry, doctors, surgeons, radiologists, technologists, tech aides. I was like, man, all these people are qualified to buy and sell property. Like, why am I not farming this system here? And that's what I started to do. So I moonlighted and still worked at the hospital for 4 years after I got my license. After being very successful as a real estate broker, I still kept that job as long as I could to obviously just keep amplifying the business and like changing my life, until my wife actually said, like, dude, like you're handing in your 2 weeks. Like, this is ridiculous that you're working here still. Like, I think everybody knows that you're a real estate broker there. Like, you're good. So that was kind of it. And then from there, I've never looked back. Like I got back into the music game. I'm working with a couple artists. We signed a record deal with Columbia Records. Just went on tour, like on Polo G's tour. In the fall, we did across the US, 27 dates in like 34 days or something crazy like that, which was really, really cool. So, and then my buddy that I had the general contracting company with previously, I actually went and got my accreditation and went back to school and got my builder's license. So we're actually building custom homes now. So we've gone from making like, doing $30,000 kitchens for clients where we felt like we were never good enough to now building multi-million-dollar homes on our own. We're the boss. Like, it's not for people. We don't have to do anything. It's all on our own thing, right? So just been able to kind of circle back and like create this life for myself that and my family that I never ever would have imagined could have been possible. In a nutshell. Sorry, that's a lot of rambling, bro, but that's legit. In a nutshell, that's kind of how it went, with a lot of ups and downs in between.
Yeah, I was taking mental notes as you were speaking. Because I'm 27, so I'm now in my late 20s after starting the podcast, in my early 20s. And I've been like reflecting on like what's to do next. Like I did the whole school thing. I went to school, got my bachelor's, had a 9 to 5, lost it last year, and now I'm trying to start again.
So what's the play now? Like, what do you like? I know you said you're working. Yeah, you got your YMCA, but like, what do you want to do? Like, what's the next step?
That's what I was spoke to my mother the other day. Like I just didn't know. Like I didn't have an answer because it was just like so uncertain. So currently I'm trying to just fill it out, just get like another job and just work there. And so something I can manage. But in terms of like what I really want to do, I'm still trying to find out again. It might be to something in gaming, or it might be like a transition of the podcast, like what it looks like. I'm still trying to figure out how to like challenge myself with the podcast again to do something different with it.
Yeah, nice. I like that. So so I think the only thing I could kind of say on that is like, yeah, when you get an idea, don't be afraid to just jump in both feet, right? And like put the effort in, because obviously the most valuable resource is the time and the effort. Of course, money is huge, but to learn and to kind of get started on things, especially the way tech is now, like you could do a lot with a little. So it's really just like trial and error and try a bunch of things. And that's how I got unstuck, is I kept trying a bunch of things. Like from the outside, it would look like I was insane because like there was no rhyme or reason to what I was trying, but I was like, oh, I like this. I'm interested in it. I'm passionate about it. I'm going to try it. Oh, it's cool, but like, it's more of a hobby. Or like trying this out and like, you know what? I actually don't really like it that much, but I wouldn't have known unless I tried it. So, people are like, oh, like you're flipping and flopping or you're failing at this. And it's like, no, bro, I'm just waiting for the right avenue. I'm waiting for the right lane so that as soon as I get in it, there's no turning back. And like, I'll see you never, and, so that's the advice I would give you there. Like, I wouldn't worry at 27. I was, I was 32. I was 32 when I figured out like on the real estate path. So, and like from 32, like I had it all figured out before I turned 33. Like that's how fast it can go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just don't get discouraged. Like as long as you have the ambition and you have the drive, and obviously you have a brain where you can, make decisions and like, weigh out options and pros and cons and stuff, you'll be fine, man. And if the first thing doesn't work, then the only thing you need to know is if the first thing doesn't work, well, that's one less thing that's on your list that you have to worry about.
Yeah. And so in your journey, it seems like a lot of times other people outside of you are telling you like, hey, this is like a direction you should be going. And like when your wife said you should quit your job now, or I think I forgot about the other time, like somebody else was like, hey, you should try this. Like when you tried the real estate the first time.
Yeah. So again, like these friends too, like even for the real estate side, like when my boy was like, become a broker, that's the blessing of coming in, growing up in this neighborhood, right? Where like you're literally thick as thieves. Cause like, we went through everything together. Like bro sat behind me in elementary school. I was like, early grades from Romania. He couldn't speak English, and like, I didn't even live in the same neighborhood at that point. So we ended up just connecting when we were like little young kids, moved to the same neighborhood. And he was one of those. So like I had already been friends with this guy. Like that's the support system, right? Like it's important to have the right people around you. Actually it's probably the most important. One of the most important things is having the right people around you, because you need those people that are going to be there for you through the good times, the bad times, not just the wins, right? Like they got to be there for everything. And you need to surround yourself with people that will give you honest answers. You want the honesty when people are like, yo, this ain't it. This is not for you. Or, bro, I actually think that you could thrive in this. Like, have you ever looked into it? Well, bro, yeah, like if he hadn't have given me that advice or the recommendation, like my life might not have gone this direction. So one simple thing that he brought up was opening a gate, right? So it was just having that support. And my wife, it's just because like that's why she's my wife. Like she knows me better than I know myself in some things, right? And she knew that I was addicted. I was addicted to the chase. I was addicted to the I don't even want to say addiction. Like it was an obsession. I was like, I can't leave the hospital because I could be leaving deals on the table. What if a new doctor starts or a new radiologist starts? Well, what if I close like 2 or 3 deals with them or these people in the first, like all of that equates to cash, right? I'm like, it's transactions, it's excitement. And I still like the day to day, but then, she made me really aware of like the time. It's like, okay, but you're going Monday to Friday for 4 hours to a job that like isn't doing anything for you financially based on what you're already doing. Do you really need to be investing that time? Like, do you think your time could be more valuable and better spent elsewhere? And I'm like, yeah, but what happens if I miss a deal? And she's like, yeah, but if you're saving 5 hours a day by not going to work, you don't think you're going to pick up a deal or two with an additional 5 hours a day, 7 days or 5 days a week? I'm like, well, yeah, a lot more. And she's like, so don't worry about one deal at the hospital that you might miss. Worry about the 5 or 6 deals in a month you might be missing by not working those 5-hour days strictly on real estate. And I was like, oh yeah, like I just didn't see it. Right. And I was like, well, there you go. I quit.
So after you quit, how do you like find more customers after not working at the hospital?
So there were a couple things. So originally, well, one of the things is that obviously I have my own real estate team, Sean Frost real estate team. Branding was a big one. So I've always, tried to run everything I do kind of as a business and as a brand. And without, again, knowing how important that actually is, but it is super important. So part of the reason for that is like my legal name, my government name is Sean McCrae. Nobody knew me as Sean McCrae in Ottawa. Everybody knew me as Frost and Sean Frost. That's just how I grew up. And so I was like, okay, so I got to make sure, one, that I can keep that branding going so that everything front and center. I don't want photos of myself, but I want the name. I want the logo. So I ran it that way. And obviously sphere of influence, the issue with that of running it to your sphere of influence is that everybody that I knew, 90% of them are not in positions to be buying and selling properties, and I'm not with it to try to just do rentals, right? Like helping somebody out on rentals is great. No issues there, but that's it. Like I'm not building a business on rentals. It's not worth it. I couldn't do it. And so I was like, okay, so that doesn't work. So what do I need to do next? So then I got creative and, we have like Kijiji and like even before Facebook Marketplace. So like basically the equivalent was Kijiji, right? And we would, I would take every listing from every agent in my brokerage, and I would post their listing to Kijiji as if I were the agent, because I'd get permission from them, and they were all in agreement because they want me to they would like their property that they have to sell. They want it marketed as much as possible. So if somebody's going to take the time out to create a free listing for them and answer Kijiji ads for them to help try to sell their properties, well, then they're all for it. So then I started doing that. So then all of a sudden I went from obviously no listings to like having like 15 listings up on various websites, including Kijiji, which was a big one at the time, because like they were calling me the Kijiji King because I was posting all these ads and booking showings. People would reach out and be like, and I would learn about the property. So not only just posting the listings, but like I would actually sit down with the listing agent and pick their brain and be like, what do I need to know about this? Gives me and then I would book a showing for myself and I'd go check it out firsthand. So I knew what I was talking about. And people would call me to do showings. I booked them, go do showings. And the goal wasn't for them to buy that house. The goal was just to get in front of them, do the showing and build that relationship with them, right? And that's how I started all my clients. Aside from the hospital, I started just showing random people houses and hoping that personalities would click and I could actually build a relationship and start networking that way. And I did. Like, I think I did 15 deals my first year just from Kijiji stuff, like just from Kijiji deals, which is like probably unheard of now. Like it would be wild, but that's how I started. It was all randoms and just like taking the plunge and like putting the time in, putting in the work.
Got it.
Yeah.
And now you have the music again.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so obviously, you know, I was in I've been in a place for a little while now where I've been able to kind of spread my wings again and start like filling the voids that were left behind. You know, at the time when I left the music stuff behind, there was always a big part of me that was missing, and I knew that. I was aware of it, but I thought that, you know, that's kind of what I needed to do to be, you know, an adult, a grown up, right? So, um, such a blessing, and it's really taught me that just because you're moving on from something doesn't, and you're leaving it behind at the time, it doesn't mean that you're closing a door on something. So it took me a long time to realize that just because it's in the past doesn't mean it's going to stay in the past, and that could be a great thing. And the music, and obviously the construction, now I own 2 custom home building companies, like that, like it's full circle from what I was doing before, and the music included. So yeah, I've been working with a rapper named Two Time for the last, you know, five years or so, and he's doing his thing now, and you know, obviously super proud of him. And then I'm also working with a trap artist, Justin Diamond, just finishing up his album, and I've actually been back on the boards, back in the studio. I was doing sound checks. I'm making beats again. You know, so that's just like self-fulfilling, but also like he's super talented, working on a body of work with him, which is cool. And I have an 8-year-old. Like my biggest achievement of my life is being a dad. So I have an 8-year-old that, you know, we're basically inseparable. We're together all the time. He's a massive wrestling fan. So I enjoy wrestling, watching wrestling. But I'm actually looking after a wrestler out of Cleveland, Joshua Bishop, who's rolling right now with Fourth Rope with like West Side Gun and all those guys. So yeah, Josh is my guy. So I'm kind of looking after some of the business aspects for him. And basically, I'm super blessed to be in a point where if I'm passionate about something and I have the energy and I really want to like make it go, I can make it go. I just put in the work.
Got it. That's definitely what I want to be at one day, where I can do my passions, have like the thing stable, have something stable, and then do passions.
Exactly. And obviously the best part would be whatever stable is something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that the real estate, I was going to be passionate about it. Like when I first got into it, I was doing it so that I could obviously provide, right? Provide for my family, make sure that, you know, have some financial freedom. Financial freedom wasn't even on the radar. It was more like, I want to pay the bills and I want to be able to know that the lights are going to turn on in the morning and there's going to be food in the fridge, right? Little did I know, and that's the power of trying different things. But when you try it, you have to put your all into it. And I think right now, a lot of people, especially younger generation, they're worried about what people are going to think about them. They're worried about what it looks like from the outside. They're worried about people being like, oh, he failed at this or flopped this, or, you know, like took a loss here, took an L here. Like all of that stuff is so trivial, and it's so like, it's so minuscule. You know what I mean? It's such a small, like, because it's not like, if I hadn't have, you know, quote unquote failed at so many things, I wouldn't have learned so much to make the things that actually, like, when I got into the position, when I got into the right lane that I was supposed to be in, I would have been missing half of that experience or that knowledge. And I probably would have gone belly up. Like 80% of new agents are done within the first 6 months. They're out. They're in and they're out. Right? If I hadn't have gone through all that, like come out the mud, then who's to say that I would have been able to reach the successes that I've got on the real estate side, and then been able to like really be me and dive into all these other avenues, right? So I think it's like the goal I would hope for you is that obviously that you find something that you're passionate about and that becomes your stable. And then yeah, you're passionate about a bunch of other things that might not be as stable, but that's going to be the excitement. That's the adventure part where you're like, hey, if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'm going to be all right.
Got it. So how is it similar and different looking after like a wrestler and an artist?
It's not. It's not. It's not. It's basically one and the same. One is a little bit crazier for sure. But mentalities are similar in a lot of ways, except wrestlers are built different. I'll tell you right now, wrestlers are they are built different. I never met any type of person or any walk of life in terms of like an occupation that grind like a wrestler grinds, especially an indie wrestler. Like it is an indie wrestler, like scratching the surface of pro is insane. The amount of travel, time, effort, stress, and like physicality on the body, time constraints where you can't afford flights everywhere. So you're driving across the country, internationally, and you're doing shows for 100, 150 bucks for 20 minutes after an 8-hour drive where you finish and you got to jump back in the car and drive 6 hours to another city to do $150 in front of maybe 50 people, maybe 10 people, maybe 1,000 people. That grind, the mentality, like it, like I'm blown away really by a wrestler's mentality. Whereas like an artist, it's more of a creative, there's ups and downs with that, right? And that comes with the territory too. Like with the creative, you need to be able to feel. I think it's very important to be able to feel big. And that's on the lows and that's on the highs, because you need to encompass all of that and have those emotions so that they can come out in your compositions, come out in your music, right? If you're going to be a big deal, you're going to have to obviously cater to the masses, but you don't want to be linear. Like you don't want to be a one-trick pony. You need to be able to showcase as an artist. If you want to be an artist, that's what you need to do. You need to really showcase all different sides of yourself, be vulnerable, because your listeners and your fan base, we're all human. We all go through those things. There are for different reasons, but we all feel different ways at different times. So to be able to feel some type of way and then pick something up from somebody that you're listening to and being like, bro, that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. You were feeling that then, I'm feeling that right now. I'm picking up what you're putting down. So the reason that they're the same is that wrestlers and artists and people in the music game, we're all like, they're storytellers. And I love that. I love the fact that people have the imagination or the creativity to put it on the line, whether it's through pen or through physicality. I just think it's such a crazy thing, but there's so many similarities from the music game to the wrestling game that it's like that, and that's why it works for me. That's why the construction works with the real estate for me, and buying homes and flipping them and this and that. Like everything is kind of intertwined. I might have a couple different branches coming out of the tree, but they're all part of the same tree. And that's why people are like, oh, you do so many different things. And I'm like, it looks that way from the outside, but from the inside, there's really a lot of similarities with everything.
Got it. Is there anything you want to ask or go over before we finish?
I think I don't know if it's anything to ask. I just think there's a couple quick points that, if we're talking, and I know like if your show is kind of centered around, not necessarily just young entrepreneurs, but just youth coming up and not knowing what's next, like feeling stuck or not knowing like where to turn. There were a few things that I didn't learn until much later that might have saved me a little bit throughout the journey, money and in terms of just effort and things not working out, which again, I wouldn't change for anything, but if I can offer something that somebody could kind of take with them that might help them maybe skip a step, there's a couple things. So one of them is I'm a people pleaser by nature. Not everybody is, but that was one of the things that was really holding me back, was the fact that I always wanted to like be there for people, like hold it down for them or do this or do that. Even when I didn't really want to do it, I was like, it wasn't really FOMO, like fear of missing out or anything. It was just like, this is my friend or whatever, like this is something I should be doing. And once I kind of realized it doesn't work that way. Life shouldn't be lived that way. I should only be doing things because I've put myself in this position now. I should only be doing things that I actually I'm invested in, things that I actually want to be doing. And so that, aside from, lawyers, doctors, dentists, that's kind of where I started making conscious decisions and doing, like, even with my friends. And I'm like, if I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to do it. So the power of saying no was the big one for me. A lot of people say the power of saying yes is big. For me, the power of saying no was big, because I was like, if somebody brought, we're going out tonight. No, I'm not feeling it. Before, I'd be like, yeah, all right, let's go. Now I'm like, no, I'm not feeling it. I'm not doing that. Or like, hey, we're thinking of doing this. Do you want to come? No, I'm good, thanks. Or like, oh, you should, even for work, like, you should do this. It's going to amplify your business. It's not me. It's too salesy. I'm not, like, I don't look like a traditional real estate agent. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, no, that's not my flex. That's not how I operate. I'm not doing that. Oh, but it's going to make you more money. That's okay. Like, I'm good. Something comes across my desk for another business venture. It's lucrative. If I'm not passionate about it, or if I'm not into it, no, I'm okay. And what that does is, I made it very abundantly clear to people that when I say yes to something, such as this, like, such as us chatting right now, if I say yes to something, it means that I'm present. I want to be here. There's literally, like, as of right now, this very moment, there's no place that I would rather be in the world than right here talking with you. And that's straight up, because if I didn't, I wouldn't do it. This isn't making you money. It's not making me money. We're just connecting. We don't even live in the same cities. We don't even live in the same country, right? Like, there's no added, like, incentive, like a hidden incentive that, like, oh, he's doing this because of this. It's like, no, I'm doing it straight up because I want to be here with you.
Okay, 1 second. Let's come back to the same link because the Zoom about to cut out.
Okay.
Go. So you was speaking about the different things that you learned when you was younger. Over the time that if you knew you was younger, you can skip some steps or avoid some things.
Yeah. So that was the one thing. Like, did you get all the stuff from, like, the saying no thing?
Yeah.
We got all that. Yeah. So that's a big one, was obviously saying no. And then the other strategy, that one of the things that helped me as well, is, like, it can get overwhelming, right? Where you're like, you're at the starting spot, and then you're trying to think of where you want to go, like what you want to do. And it's hard to, like, move down that pathway and figure out, like, how am I going to get to that spot? So one of the things that started helping me was, if I was at the starting spot and say I got, like, okay, this is the next step, this is the next step, this is the next step, but then I don't know what to do. I started thinking about, like, if I was at the other end. So if, say I wanted to make $1 million and work a job for myself with no boss, right? And then I'm like, okay, what does that look like? What am I interested in? How can I get there? What's feasible? So then you start working backwards. So then I was like, okay, my dream house and dream car type thing, I've got the vision board. I'm big on energy and big on manifestation. So how can I make this work? And then it was like, okay, here's the end product. Start working my way back. And then, even though I only had like 3 or 4 steps from the starting point, by the time I was working my way back, when I got stuck on, like, figuring out the planning, I was only a couple steps away from connecting the dots the full way. So I was like, okay, well, now it's not that overwhelming. Like, I can kind of see on the other side of the bridge. So, like, I'm going to start and I'm going to do these 4 steps that I know. And then as things come, I'm going to be learning and getting more experience. I'm going to be able to keep taking it a step further, until soon enough, all the dots are going to align. And then I can just run on the path that I thought I was going to do. Or if it's not the same path, at least I'm learning, okay, I thought it was this, but it's not. It's actually this. I'm just going to keep going. And then sure enough, by the end, as long as you have that drive and that hustle mentality, you can't get complacent. You have to be relentless. You have to be consistent. And that's where people flop. People fall off on that way, because at the start, it's very exciting. Everything is super exciting, right? I'm trying something new. This is fresh, especially if you start making a little bit of money at it. You're like, man, this is it. I'm good. And that can go away. That can be taken away so quick. And the reason it gets taken away is because people get too comfy. They get comfortable and they don't stick with it. They lose their consistency. They lose that killer instinct. And that's when things dry up. So it's, map it out and take it. It's yours. So just go out there and take it, but make sure that you stay relentless. And that's big advice from me.
Got it. Cool. Again, I want to thank you for joining the podcast. And where can people find you?
Easiest spot is just on Instagram. It's the only social platform that I really use on a regular basis. I'm elsewhere, but again, just because time is valuable to me, so I'm not interested in spreading myself across everything too thin. So it's at I am Sean Frost. That's it. Super easy at I am Sean Frost. And then yeah, obviously quick shout outs like two-time TWOTIIME. Justin Diamond is JSTNDMND, and Joshua Bishop is my wrestler. So like those are the three guys that I'm working with and that I'm holding it down for on that side. And then everything else is basically strictly my own stuff.
Got it. Again, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
That brings another episode of the Let's Gather podcast to a close. Again, you can find more information about Sean Frost by clicking the link in the description below. I hope you continue to have a nice day, and I hope to see you there.